It's here. It's finally here. The Pittsburgh Steelers 2025 schedule. We knew the opponents, and we knew where the Steelers were playing those opponents, home or away, and also Dublin, Ireland. But now we know what weeks they're happening and what the organization of all these games are. And compared to last year, our schedule's looking pretty balanced. It's not bad. There's some things I don't like about it, but it's going to happen. A schedule's never going to be perfect for your favorite team because the NFL also has to look out for 31 other teams. So let's take a look at it. Week 1, away at the Jets, 1 o'clock, September 7th. I like that one. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Week 2, at home, Seahawks. That's going to be our home opener. Of course, the Steelers go another season without having a home opener for week 1. I think what was it, 2 years ago? We had the one against the 49ers and got absolutely smoked. But that was the first home opener we've had for week 1. And I think it was a decade. It dated all the way back to 2014 or 2015. The last time we actually had a home game for week 1. But yeah, I guess the new streak continues because over the last season or two, we've also haven't had home games for week 1. Home openers have had to wait. But we got Seattle week 2. We go up against another guy we were interested in free agency with Sam Darnold. When you're talking about quarterback, week 1, Justin Fields, familiar face. Week 2, if we weren't going to go the Fields direction or some of these other quarterback directions, we were talking about Sam Darnold. So we'll get to see that. Week 3 at the Patriots, 1 o'clock. 3 1 o'clock games in a row to start. And then we got the one across the pond in Ireland. Across the pond, you could say that for an Ireland game, right? If a game was in Scotland too, it doesn't have to be just England. I know saying across the pond is always, or it's pretty much associated with England, at least from what I know. Maybe it's Maybe it's the whole United Kingdom. Maybe it's that whole island. Anyway, it is across the pond. Technically, it is right. 9:30 a.m. Week 4. Looking forward to that. Hopefully, I get to go. But that's going to be a good one. That's a good matchup too. Steelers are opening underdogs in that game just by a couple points. But then the NFL was nice and gave us a bye week after the Ireland game. We don't have to go over travel. We have the whole time change, and then we come back and we got a game Thursday or something like that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have been surprised if the NFL pulled something like that with the Steelers, with the whole schedule that they gave us last year. And then I think the first year, remember they did it was 2 years ago. The first year they were able to let teams do 2 Thursday night games. Of course, we get 2 Thursday night games, and we know the players aren't the biggest fan of those games because of the short turnaround from the weekend prior. But we get a bye after that. That's not bad. I'm not the biggest fan of the early bye weeks. I'd rather have it later on, like week 9, 10 or something, because that's when attrition really starts picking up over the course of an NFL season. Week 6, we got Cleveland at home, 1 o'clock. So the 1 o'clock games continue outside of the Ireland game. And then week 7, we got the Bengals, 8:15, primetime game. That's actually a Thursday night game. So it's our first night game. Even though, are we technically considering Thursday night games primetime games now? Because every team gets a Thursday night game. You know what I mean? That's just part of everyone's schedule. I still view the real primetime games as Saturday night, Sunday night, or Monday night, or a holiday game, right? Like a Thanksgiving game or a Christmas Day game. So I don't know if we could really consider that a primetime game. So we're 7 weeks into the schedule, and Steelers, I guess you could consider the Island one. Maybe we'll consider the Island one a primetime game, not the Thursday night game against the Bengals. Week 8, here's the real primetime. 8:20 against the Packers. at home. I like that, especially if Aaron Rodgers is here. I mean, that's a nice little storyline for sure. Week 9, 1:00 at home, Colts. So couple home games back to back here. And we go week 10 on the road, another prime time. Chargers, 8:20. November 9th, Bengals at home, 1:00. November 16th, week 12, the Bears, 1:00 away. November 23rd. Bills, week 13, 4:25, November 30th. Week 14, Ravens away, December 7th, 1:00. Week 15, Dolphins, primetime game, 8:15. Week 16, Detroit on the road, 4:25. Week 17, Browns, 1:00 away. And then finally, the Ravens at home, of course, TBD. That's how they do all the week 18 games. But you always finish out the schedule with a division rival. Last year, it was the Bengals. The year prior, it was the Ravens on the road for us. But it's every year. We get the Ravens, Browns, or Bengals in week 18, and the date's always TBD. And it's going to be dependent on where the Steelers are at in terms of in the mix for the division or in the mix for the playoffs. Same with the Ravens, so on and so forth. That'll determine whether or not it's a primetime game or a 4:00 game, anything like that. But not bad. Not bad. I think it's pretty balanced out in terms of home games, away games. I wish we had more primetime games. I'm a big fan of primetime games. I really am. Although, as I'm starting to really get into this media business and do reactions for these games and, have to, so like quote unquote work on football Sundays, I'm really starting not to mind the 1:00 games. I still prefer the primetime games, trust me, just for the vibes, the atmosphere, and all that stuff. But it's not bad being done at like 5:00, and then you could just watch the second slate of games, the 4:00 set of games, and then you got the Sunday night game. You could just chill, man. You could just chill, knowing that hopefully the Steelers won in the 1:00 spot. You got your reaction, gave your takes, and then you're able to get on with your day and just relax and watch the rest of the games. It doesn't have to be as stressful, Still prefer the primetime games, but I don't know. I'm getting up there in age, man. It's not bad being able to go to sleep at a normal hour. Don't have to stay up till 1:00 working, and then also you got to wake up the next day, give your Monday morning reactions, do your Monday reactions, and all that. First world problems, or I guess media business problems. We could say not bad. It's really nothing to complain about to that high of a degree. Anyway, let's go over some of the interest or the main intrigue from this schedule. I mean, the doubling game's really cool. I think that's going to be awesome. It's a good matchup. I mean, the Vikings, they're a good team. We'll have to see what J.J. McCarthy does, but you look at what they did last year with Sam Darnold. I don't think you're going to get too much of a drop-off with J.J. McCarthy. I don't think they're necessarily going to be better because that was a hell of a season, 14-3. But they're probably going to be the same caliber with J.J. McCarthy. And then Steelers, with us, we're always going to be in the mix. Whether it's Mason, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, we're going to be in contention. This is early in the season, too. So the Ireland games, I think it's just really cool from the standpoint we're going to be playing across the pond, and Steeler Nation's going to show up crazily. And, yeah, this is our first international game in a minute. We haven't played outside of the States since I think it was a Vikings game in 2013. That was way back. That was when Adrian Peterson was still playing. We had Big Ben. I think that was Le'Veon Bell's debut. Yeah, that's been a minute. But week 1 is the one that really sticks out to me against the Jets because we know what the storylines are there. We know what the headlines are. And Aaron Rodgers isn't here yet. But we at least know Justin Fields is going to be with the New York Jets. We at least know that storyline is going to be there. But we know Rodgers is likely coming here. So that even adds fuel to the fire. Like, dude, you got to think of it this way. Aaron Rodgers, the dude that has had a chip on his shoulder his whole football career. I'm telling you, you guys got to read his book. This goes all the way back even to high school and then college. He doesn't get recruited by a big time school. He has to go to a JUCO for the first year, and then ends up going to Cal, and he gets overlooked there. And then obviously the draft, all that stuff. He's always used that as motivation, and we see the career that he's put together because of it. Obviously, he's got the talent to back it up, all that stuff. But like the proving people wrong thing, the trying to switch the narrative, the proving the doubters, the haters wrong, like that's a big thing for Aaron Rodgers. People say he's not good enough, or people think, especially now with how the Jets thing went, people think he's washed. People think he still don't got it. The Jets moved on from Rodgers for Justin Fields. The whole quarterback swap thing. Like it's, dude, if there's something that may get him motivated, because we're waiting on the Rodgers decision, if there's something that maybe could motivate him a little bit more to get this decision hammered in here, it would be Jets week 1, because wouldn't he want to have the most prep work, the most familiarity with his teammates, the most rapport with the offense and the offensive coordinator as possible? Would he want all that? Doesn't he want to shut up the Jets? Doesn't he want to prove them so wrong with how everything went in his tenure there? If you look at his history, like that's who the man is. I get the whole ayahuasca stuff, like he, live and let live. He's chilling and all that, but like there's a strong competitive side to Aaron Rodgers, and I bet you there's nothing more than he would want to go out there week 1 against the Jets in New York and throw for 4 touchdowns. I mean, you got to be kidding me. But then again, the other aspect of this is Justin Fields is playing for the Jets. The Steelers didn't go out of their way to sign the man. And we obviously know how the story went last season, where we were playing pretty good with Fields at the quarterback position those first 6 weeks. And Tomlin decides to move off of him and go with Russ. And it looked pretty good at the beginning, but then we saw how it ended. And Fields was chilling there in free agency. He said, I want to be a Steeler. I want to come back. But ultimately, the Steelers say, the Jets are offering you too much. We can't do that. So go to the Jets. And then the Steelers also said, Russ, we don't want you back either. Darnold, no, that's too high of a price. Danny Dimes ends up signing with the Colts, and the quarterback landscape ends up being, it's just Aaron Rodgers. We're just waiting, chilling for Aaron Rodgers. And I'm telling you, man, if there's a game, I think the NFL, it's either they know something or they're trying to get Aaron Rodgers to make his decision a little bit sooner rather than later here by making the Jets the week 1 game. I think that's awesome. I think that's the way to do it. The thing that makes me mad, though, is the game's at 1 o'clock. That should be a primetime game. That really should be. That should be at least a 4 o'clock game. That should be a primetime game. And like I said, I mean, I'm not complaining as much these days about the 1 o'clock games because, I get chill for the rest of the day after those 1 o'clock games are done. But I think that's deserving of a Sunday night football matchup, a Monday night football matchup, not just the 1 o'clock game. Let's see. What else is there here that is of note? We're light on the primetime games, low key. We're a little light. I already said I don't like the bye week early, but I think that is a nice spot after that Ireland game. And then you look, we got the Bengals, the Thursday night game. We got Packers, that's a primetime at home. We got the Chargers on the road. That's primetime. Dolphins, I think that's a Monday night game. So, the Packers and the Chargers, those are Sunday night games, and the Dolphins is a Monday night game. And if you want to add Ireland as primetime, even though it's 9:30 a.m., it's a marquee matchup. It's a little disappointing. It is. Because I think it shows how the league views our team and the state of our team. Like, they don't view us as having as much pop as usual because we're at least typically getting 5 or 6 primetime games. If you want to consider the Thursday night one, I guess that's fine. I don't, because every team gets a Thursday night game. I don't. That's just a natural part of the schedule. The real primetime games is Packers, Chargers, and Dolphins. And then I guess if you want to throw the Ireland one in there, because not every team gets an international game. A couple of these 4 o'clock games later with the Bills and the Lions, those are nice. But outside of that, yeah, a bunch of 1 o'clocks. And then, week 18 is going to be TBD. And, if I had to bet money, I'm sure that's going to end up being at least a 4 o'clock game, maybe the Saturday night game or like a Sunday night game or something like that. That's how it's been going with us over the last couple seasons, because we're still in the playoff hunt and the game has intrigue. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Ed McDermott, 10. Brutal second half and early bye week. And you think less prime time, the better. The players are able to stick to a routine with the 1 o'clock games. Like those first 3 weeks, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, you're able to stick with the same routine. It's when you get the random Thursday game thrown in there, and then you have, the night games on Monday night, Sunday night. That can mess up the routine a little bit. I can feel that. I understand that. But from a fan standpoint, from just a buzz standpoint, a hype standpoint, I like the prime time. I really do. The second half. Here's my thing. We knew the teams. I keep saying this every time the schedule comes out. I've been saying it over the last probably 3-4 years. We knew these teams. We knew where we were going to be playing these teams. It's configured a certain way. And I don't think it has that big of an effect. I know we had the brutal second half stretch last year, but I think that was less about our opponents and more about us just not playing that good. Pickens getting hurt, I don't think that helped. We had a couple injuries down the stretch. Russ starting to come back down to earth. I think that was less about the opponents and more about us not playing up to snuff, us not doing our thing the way that we should have been. And I don't think this is that, like, compared to last year, I don't think this second half stretch is even close to as bad if you want to do the comparison. It just sucks that we have the early bye week and you have all these games in a row without any break. Do they still do the week 4 bye week? Like, that's the worst. That's the absolute worst. With the week 5, it's basically second to worst. But after the Ireland game, it does make sense, so I'm not going to hammer it too much. But, like, this ain't too bad, man. Like, we got the Browns mixed in there at the end in week 17. Bears, Dolphins. Like, these teams aren't Colts. You know what I mean? Like, we got a couple games that are going to be tough back to back. Bengals and Packers. But then you get the Colts. I don't think the Colts are going to be that good. Chargers, Bengals, then the Bears. I like what the Bears have done this offseason, but it's still the Bears. Caleb Williams still needs to prove more. Bills, Ravens, and you get the Dolphins, Tua. All right, we know the Dolphins. I think at that point, Dolphin season is going to be lost. Lions, that's going to be a good game. But then you got the Browns in between, the Lions and the Ravens. So you get some breaks in the schedule. Jets to start off. I don't think the Jets are going to be that good. I'd chalk that one up as a win. Seahawks at home. Seahawks, they're going to be a tough team, but that's going to be nice having them at home at that point in the season with Darnold. He's not going to be completely acclimated with Seattle and have everything fine-tuned just yet, so we can catch him at a good time there. And then Patriots, they didn't have a bad offseason, but they're still building. They're probably a year or two away of being where they really want to be. And then I think, our big-time opponent in the first half of the schedule is going to be the Vikings in that doubling game. But I think, honestly, that would be I was going to say that it's going to be nice getting the Vikings over there, but it also would have been nice just having them at home. But I think the effect of it being an Ireland game, that might neutralize some of the Vikings' firepower and some of the continuity that they got going with the team over there. I think that can mess with things. And then it's obviously going to be a home game from a fan standpoint, a stadium standpoint, takeover standpoint. The travel is going to affect us a little bit, but it's also going to affect the Vikings. They got to travel a little bit more to get over there. And then they got to stay over there too the next week for week 5. but that's obviously going to be after us. So if I'm looking at this in terms of record, let me do my thing. This is my formula. This is how I typically do the schedule. I'm just going to say a win, or it's going to be a toss-up, 50-50. And then what I do is I add up all the 50-50 games, and then I divide it by 2 at the end, and that's how I get my losses. So week 1 Jets, I already said that's a win. Week 2 Seattle at home, I like that as a win. I don't care who the quarterback is, whether it's Rodgers or Mason. We're going to be fine either way. I was actually going to do a video, maybe a segment over, it's either maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, on why Mason has a really good chance of being good for us this year. Like, he wouldn't be that much of a downgrade from Aaron Rodgers. So anyway, we're going to go 2-0 first 2 weeks. Patriots, I think we win that one too. On the road, 3-0. Vikings, we'll say that's a toss-up. That's a 50-50. Browns at home. We're sweeping the Browns. They're not going to be good this year. Sweeping the Browns at home, week 6, coming off the bye for sure. We'll be well rested, healthy. Maybe Kenny's playing. we'll have the scouting report ready for Kenny. We've dealt with him here in-house for 2 seasons, so we know what's up. Week 7, Bengals, I'll say that's a toss-up. Packers at home, toss-up. Colts, win. Chargers on the road, toss-up. Bengals at home, toss-up. Bears, win, even on the road. Bills, toss-up. Ravens, toss-up. Dolphins, win at home Monday night. That's easy win. Colder. Tua later in the season, dub. Maybe Tyreek Hill's not even on the team anymore. Maybe they trade him at the trade deadline. Lions away, toss-up. Browns home, I already said that's going to be a sweep, so win. And then Ravens at home at the end, we could say toss-up. So how many wins do I have here? I got Browns, the 2 Browns games, 1, 2, the first 3 weeks, 5. Colts, 6. Bears, 7. Dolphins, 8. So the rest are toss-ups. And there's how many games in the schedule? 17 minus 8 is 9 divided by 2. Okay, that's 4.5 plus the 8. I got us with 13.5 wins. Okay. Is that right? I got us with 13.5. And then you got to take one away for the homer bias. That'd be 12.5. Do I say 12-5? Is that right? Let me do this again. Let me do this again here. Jets, Seahawks, Patriots, 3 wins. Browns, 4 wins. Browns again, 5 wins. Colts, 6 wins. Bears, 7 wins. Dolphins, 8 wins. Okay, yeah. That's what my formula just spat out right there. Really, I guess 13.5. Or no, 12.5. Thank you, M. McDermott. I'm an idiot. Yeah, 8 plus 4.5 is 12.5, not 13.5. Wow. My bad. Botched that up. So then if I wanted to take 1 win away for like Steeler bias and then maybe take another win away as like a Tomlin loss, then we get to 10.5. And if you round up, you get to 11 wins. And I think that's the around the lines I'm thinking there. 11-6 sounds about right. We go like 4-2 in the division. We went 3-3 last year, but traditionally we do well in the division. We do. We usually finish with like a 4-2 record, a 5-1 record. And I get it. The big question is who's our quarterback. I think we'll be fine with Mason. We've gone 10-7 before with Mitch, Kenny, and Mason, right? And Matt Canada is the coordinator for most of that season. We went 9-8 in Kenny's rookie year when we started off the season with Mitch for like 3 or 4 games. And, Mitch was Mitch. And then Kenny had his growing pains, and then we kind of hit our stride after the bye there. We went 9-8 with that team. Matt Canada coordinator whole season. And then last year, 10-7. So like 11-6, if we're talking about that we upgraded the roster this offseason, and if Rodgers comes here, I think we could still rock with Mason too. We could be fine with Mason. We saw what he did his last little stint in a Steeler uniform. Was playing like a top 10 quarterback. I still got faith in him like that. I do. Just wait for the video to drop. Wait for the video whenever I talk about why I think Mason really has a chance to do something this year. Now we got manifesting Aloha saying he'd rather just roll with Howard. I think you give Howard some time. Even if Rodgers don't come here, I think you give Mason the keys and give Mason the first crack at it for at least maybe the first month or two of the season. Then you see how things are going, and then maybe you give Howard a little chance to develop down the second half stretch if things aren't going well with Mason. But I don't think it's going to go bad with Mason. I really don't. 11-6 isn't that far of a stretch, man. It really isn't. Second year with Arthur Smith here. We get rid of Pickens. Maybe you could say that's a +1 or 2 in the win category from a vibe standpoint, addition by subtraction. The defense on paper is improved. We thought the defense was improved last year. So there's a little caveat with that statement. Thought the defense was improved, and we were just pretty much god-awful second half of the season. We were bad. We were Swiss cheese. We were getting cooked by the Eagles, Chiefs, and Ravens. I don't think 11-6 is that much of a stretch. I know things look a little weird with the Steelers right now. Like, we don't have a plan. What are we doing at quarterback? Are we really willing to go into the season with Mason Rudolph as QB1? Like, how is, from an outside looking in standpoint, how is that an upgrade? I get that. I get it. I think 11-6 is feasible. I really do. So the schedule's not too bad here. I already talked about how I think it's pretty balanced. We don't have like a gauntlet type of stretch. We don't at all, at any point. Not at the beginning, not in the middle, not at the end, where you got like 4 or 5 big hitters in a row, big time teams in a row, where you're like, oh man, that's a big gauntlet. We don't have anything like that in this schedule. You got a break with like an easy team thrown in there. But you always got to consider the Tomlin loss being thrown in. And that's what I did with my schedule formula. You saw how I threw that in there. We went from 12.5 to like, all right, maybe you take a win away because I'm a Steeler bias guy. I'm a big Steeler fan. Take a win away. You take another one away for a potential Tomlin loss being thrown in there. And you get to 10.5. 10.5, and then you round up, you get to 11. Not that complicated. I'll read a couple more comments, and then I'll get up out of here. And McDermott says, Mason helped the Titans get the first pick this year, so that's upside. Dude, no, here's my thing. That's more on Levis than Mason. That was Levis helping the Titans. Mason actually played good. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to pull it up right now. But I think he was 500 with the Titans last year, which with that Titans roster is no small feat. Okay, no, he was 1-4. Never mind. He was 1-4. Why did I think he was 3-3? He wasn't that bad. 64% completion, 1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns, 9 picks. Had nothing to work with. If anything, look at his QBR. His QBR. This is what I mean, because I was watching Mason games. I guess they technically went 1-4 with him as the starter. I'd have to look into it. There needs to be a context. This is why I want to dig into a Mason Rudolph video and why I truly do think he could be fine for the Steelers if we end up going with him. And looking at last year with the Titans is going to be part of that process. Because I remember watching his games, it didn't feel like he went 1-4. It actually felt like he went 500. But like, again, I don't think he was the reason why they went 1-4. I think he played good enough for them to go 500 in his games. I think he came in, he spelled Levis once or twice and bailed the Titans out and like actually got them close in some of the games. But the QBR is 55.5. That says something. You can't just look at the whole stats on the surface completely. The 55.5 QBR, that was better than Russ, and that was better than Justin Fields last year. Considering the team that Mason Rudolph had around him with the Titans, Dude, who was his receivers? Who was his running back? Who's his offensive line? Who's his defense? That team was awful. There's a reason they were the number 1 overall pick. And it wasn't due to Mason. I think, if anything, that if they would have had Mason, and this goes to my main point here with your comment, if they would have had Mason for the full season, they wouldn't have been picking number 1. They would have been maybe still picking in the top 10, but they wouldn't have been picking number 1. Will Levis is the reason they were picking number 1, not Mason Rudolph. And you'll see this year with Cam Ward. Look at the Titans roster, man. He only has so much to work with. I think Cam Ward's going to be good. I just don't know if it's going to be to that extent this year. Almost like Caleb Williams last year. Like, you saw the glimpses with Caleb Williams, but he just wasn't completely there in the Bears roster. And that's the thing. The Bears roster last year was better than what Cam Ward's walking into this year with the Titans. It's not even close. Titans roster is god-awful. They need another draft or two before they even get in the conversation for playoffs and like serious contention within the AFC. They need a couple more drafts at least. They need to surround Cam Ward with some better talent, because it's bleak down there. Look at their roster. It's bad, man. It's pretty bad. Calvin Ridley is their top guy, and after that, it's a huge drop-off. Everyone else, you're talking about like Treylon Burks, who still has never done anything in the league just yet. But yeah, I think Mason low-key played all right with the Titans last year. Look, if you watch his games, he was all right. 55.5 QBR. That's one of those stats too. It takes in consideration when you're doing stuff. Are you rising to the occasion on third downs? Like when you're throwing turnovers, when you're having fumbles or picks. Like, are they in critical points of the game? 2-minute drives. Like they weigh some things a little bit different with that QBR. So for him to have a higher QBR than both Russ and Justin Fields last year, and Aaron Rodgers, actually, I don't think Aaron Rodgers' QBR was that high, because he had opportunities. I will say this about Rodgers. A critique you could say with him of last year is he had opportunities to win games. Final drive, Jets were down a score and didn't really deliver to the extent you would expect from an Aaron Rodgers. Let's see what else we got in terms of comments. Manifesting Aloha says, Vikings feel like a Tomlin loss. That's not a Tomlin loss. I already told you, that's a toss-up game. That's a 50-50 game. Vikings are a good team. Yeah, Vikings, I wouldn't consider that a Tomlin loss. The Tomlin loss would be some of the games that I considered guaranteed wins, like the Browns, like the Colts, like the Dolphins. I would consider those Tomlin losses, especially if those teams are what I expect them to be this year, and that is not good. Because I can see the Browns week 17 being like 4-12. I could see the Browns week 6 being like 1-4 or something, 2-5. I don't know. 2-5 is impossible, but Colts week 9, they're like 3-6, 2-5, something. You know what I mean? 2-6. Bears, maybe they're floating around a little bit under 500. Dolphins, yeah, they're maybe 2 or 3 games under 500 when we play them. Those would be games we should win. That is if we back up what my record prediction says, and we're an 11-16. So, all right, that's it for today's show and the schedule reaction. Schedule's not bad. We should be able to take care of business. I'm loving the week 1 against the Jets, though, with Aaron Rodgers. I really am. I love the storyline, love the headline with that. Just right off the bat, get into it. It should be a primetime game, but it is what it is. All right, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 6 p.m. I'm sure we'll have some more reaction, maybe a little bit more reaction to the schedule. But have a good Wednesday night. Stay safe out there. Stay chilling. And peace.